that belonging, that camaraderie at the party, that you're with your pals, you're accepted, you're no longer alienated, you're not feeling out of the loop, you're like, hey, these people like me, I'm cool, I'm liking this, and so goes that lifestyle. But about a year and a half into that, I tried meth, and that was where everything changed. My addiction became a struggle to obtain meth and keep it a secret from my parents.
I had literally an hour to make it to the hospital. My brain had been beaten 6-7 times. But the Lord saved my life, and 7 days later, I walked out of the hospital. 2 weeks later, I'm running amok again. Back to the old habits. Not even healed yet, I'm out running amok. 3 years later, I wanted out again, so I went into a rehab program, and I was there for about 4 or 5 days because of the financing part of it. But I remember them telling me that since I was an addict, I would always be one. There's nothing to look forward to. You've got a disease, you got to live with it. And I can remember talking to a gentleman there, and his head was just hanging down, and he had problems with drinking, and he was just distraught because he didn't know that he was the problem, and he was just wondering, how am I going to fix this? And I thought, that's really not a way to live. So, a few years after that, maybe a couple of years after the rehab, I started using again. Bringing chaos back into my family. I'm a late 30s guy. I live at home with mom and dad, doing drugs out of their house, sometimes selling it. And I remember in 2003, my parents were at odds, let's kick him out. My dad was saying, no, he's got something, let's keep him around. And one day my younger brother came up to me and pinned me on the ground and said, I'm done with you. Done with you, get out of my life. It was a hard hit.
I was able to keep it a secret for a few years, but eventually, my mom and dad's friends are telling them, she's probably using drugs. And my mom and dad loved me, and they believed in me, and they wanted to help me. But I didn't want help. I just wanted to run my game, and so I did for many, many years. In the background, my mom prayed. She prayed, and all her friends prayed. And even in my darkness, I could feel that God was keeping me safe. And I won't take you through all the horrors and the ups and downs. Drug addiction just continues to get worse. It does not get better on its own. It just continues to multiply and get worse. And I had tried to get clean. I was able to stay clean, I think, for like a year and a half, white knuckling it, But I knew that God was calling me back to Him. And in my darkness is where He reached out to me, and it was like He tapped me on the heart. And He says, it's time for you to come back to me. I'm here for you. I want you to come back to me. And so began this long journey of trying to get out of drugs on my own and get back to God. In the midst of this, my dad gets pancreatic cancer, and so now he's dying. And so my using got a lot worse, but I had to keep it together. I was completely numb. Through that time, those last days that I had with Him, those last months that I had with Him, that I could have been having that quality time with Him, but I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to process it. He was my best friend. And for many years, I felt like He'd been my advocate, and He was going away. And I only knew one way to handle anything, and that was to use. Once he died, I felt like I was in the depths of despair. Such a dramatic word, but truly. But again, on the outside, I got to make everybody think I got this, I can do this, I've got a good job. But I was struggling and I was absolutely falling apart. Thank you. And I was an absolute wreck. And I cried out to God. I got angry with him, I said, this is your problem. You need to fix this because I can't do this anymore. My heart is so fractured from the numerous relationships, trying to find satisfaction and significance in a relationship with some guy and in the drugs, and I'm fractured and I don't know how to do this anymore, and I've tried to get clean and I can't. So you have to fix this. You do this. You do this. You take my drug addiction away, and while you're at it, would you please bring my husband, because I'm tired of living alone.
Okay, 2003 is here. I had a praying father the whole time. He had been asking God to deliver me from drugs. He'd been doing this for about 15 years, so he was getting a little frustrated. So he walked up to me one day and he goes, hey Ralph, I changed my prayer. I got a little frustrated with God. So he goes, I started changing that you would have to change the circumstance in your life. Well, I had just met this one guy named Randy, and Randy was introducing me to another drug dealer. I was always, up for finding out somewhere else where I could go get my drugs. And I knew how to work on computers, so here it was. This guy had a broken computer, and he had drugs, and I knew how to fix it. So I'm over there, working at his house one day, and walks Teresa.
So from the day after that prayer, and I remember it distinctly, I was outside smoking my cigarette, side yard of my mom's house, and I'm out there smoking it. I remember I got angry and I yelled and I threw my cigarette down and I walked in the house, and my attitude was, I'm gonna keep trying not to get high, but I'm gonna get high, because we know that's what I do, Lord, and you're gonna have to fix this for me. This is your problem. And about 2 weeks went by, and I was getting ready to go get some milk. No, I'm sorry, let me back up. About 3 days went by, and I was standing in the backyard smoking a cigarette, and everything went black, and all I could see was a man's face, or part of it. I could see a man right here, just this part of his face, and I was like, whoa, what is going on? I knew God had just done something. I knew God had just showed me something, but I didn't know what it meant. I just didn't know what it meant. I just knew that God was doing something. And so I carried on, and about a week and a half after that little vision that I had, I was up at a friend's house, partying, watching a football game, and the television went completely on the fritz. It just started going snow, and I was like, oh, this is stupid. So I left, because it was football playoffs, and I'm a football fan. And I went, I really thought, where can I go watch the game? So, okay. So I went over to Bruce's house to watch the football game, and went in, and I walked in the room, and I stuck my head in, and there was this guy underneath this desk, and he pulled his head out, and he turned around and looked at me. It freaked me out, because it was the same guy that I had seen in my vision a week and a half earlier. And,
Well, about 3 years later, we're still together.
I think it's really important to recognize that God was meeting me in my darkness. He was not waiting for me to get clean or sober up or come to church. God was meeting me in my darkness. He just introduced me to who would be my husband in a dope dealer's house. And my attitude when I saw Rob was I walked back in the bathroom and I was like, holy cow, what is going on? What are you doing in this ugly, dark place? I know your spirit sees me. I know you're protecting